Good evening. This is Lemurian Donna Carroll. How are you tonight? I hope you're doing well and that everything is okay in your world. For those of you that don't know, I am fostering a stray kitten named Atticus that I picked up from the shelter a week and a day ago, and he's starting to acclimate. At first he was crying quite a bit. He seemed a little anxious, but he's finally settling in and getting better every day. And he's sleeping and eating very well, and he's extremely cute. He's this fuzzy little black kitty, and I have been getting up in the middle of the night at least once, sometimes more, to feed him. So, of course, I've been pretty tired. In fact, this is the first day I have felt well rested in many, many, many weeks. So I'm really grateful for that. He's doing better, and I will most likely adopt him because Atticus, at 2.5 weeks, is already working with me in the astral plane, and we did exercise some demons together. So basically, he has been sent to me to work with me, and we are supposed to go through these last days together, I believe. So it's exciting. And actually, I probably do most of my work at night in the astral plane, in my dream state, whether I'm conscious of it or not. And a lot of the times I am conscious of it. Because I do remember my dreams and what happens. So anyhow, so that's going well. And I think one reason why I'm starting to feel better is I had surgery last week on one of my teeth, and I had a pretty bad infection, and I let it go for way too long. So hopefully that will start to clear up now, and I think that was making me tired, and I'm hoping that the tooth will be saved. We'll see what happens. It's underneath a bridge. So anyhow, so I think that's happening for a reason too, to get my energy up and strength back. And I hope you're doing well. I know these are trying times. The only thing we really can do is stay in our center, stay grounded, stay connected to the above, stay connected to the below, and don't get caught up in what's going on around you. Sometimes that's hard not to do because you might be right in the middle of it where you are located on the earth, but things are crazy. They're going to get crazier. We have no control over them. So the best thing to do is just remember to stay grounded and know that you're here for a reason. And also understand that, these are the last days, and stuff is going to hit the fan, and we just have to understand that and do the best we can with where we're at. Anyhow, since I had surgery on my mouth, on my tooth, I thought we could do a healing. So if you would, go ahead and get a piece of selenite, and I'm going to show you how to utilize it to heal yourself. So if you have a physical ailment or a part of the body that's bothering you, we're going to call in our guides and work on it today before the channeling. So this is how you would use the selenite to heal yourself. So the first thing you want to do is put the selenite on the part of the body that's causing you pain, where you have inflammation, or where you have an infection. So I have an infection in my mouth, so I'm going to place it right here where the infection is. And then what you would do is you would just go into your heart, very simply call in your highest and best healing guides. Now, different guides will come in for different people, and also different guides will come in for different purposes. So you might have one guide coming in for your heart, another guide coming in for your wrist, another guide coming in for your ear. So not to get confused by all that, the best thing to do would be to invoke the guides that are best for this predicament. So because I have an infection in my mouth, actually in my jawbone, I will invoke the highest and best guides. So at this time, I ask the highest and best guides of the light to come forward to work with my tooth number 30 and the surrounding jawbone. So angels might come in, ETs might come in, different guides of the light. So have that intention, which I just did, call them in, okay. And now you just ask them. I ask the guides who are here, and I'm asking if they're here. Yeah, they're here. So at this time, I ask the guides to heal my tooth, to heal the infection, and to grow the bone back in the jaw or surrounding the tooth. Okay, and then I know they're here because I'm shaking. So you put the selenite there because the selenite helps them come into the affected area, and it also amplifies their energy and it amplifies their power to work on the part of the body that's bothering you. It doesn't have to be a physical ailment. It can be emotional or mental. You can also use selenite on animals, your pets, and babies. So they're working because I can feel them working. I'm shaking. And you just put the selenite there, I would say for a good 5, 10, 15 minutes. And you would do this every day until you start feeling better. So I'm just going to leave it there a little bit longer. I'm not going to do a full 5 minutes, but you also can place the selenite on your nightstand at night beside you, asking the guides to come in to help you sleep, to release anxiety, to release pain. You can also place the selenite in your bed, in your bedding, and ask the guides to come in at night to help you with whatever you need help with. So it's kind of a multi-purpose tool. It's a tool. It's the highest vibrating crystal on the planet. The only thing higher in vibration than a piece of selenite is a rose. Of course, Mother Mary is associated with roses, so, and you know that vibration's high because it has to be the best smelling thing on the planet, a rose. I don't know, jasmine's pretty close. I like the smell of jasmine, but okay, so a lot of times when you do this, when you put the selenite on a painful area, an inflamed area, you will feel relief after the 5, 10, or 15 minutes is up. But if you do this every day, it's going to act as an adjunct to whatever else you're doing, whether it's aromatherapy, going to the doctor, taking prescription medicine, a sauna, you know, herbs, whatever you're doing to heal. And then when you're done, just say, thank you, guides, for helping me and for working with my tooth, whatever part of the body. And so I ask those same guides to stay in that area and work on this infection and work on this problem until it's completely healed. Thank you. And then you just give it up to them and it's done. So it's very simple to work with selenite, but it's very helpful. So anyhow, I tonight am channeling Joan of Arc because Angelique, hey Angelique, asked me to do this. And I honestly did not know very much about Joan of Arc except that she was burned at the stake and fought in battles and in France. I'm kind of a pacifist, so I'm not attracted to war or warriors, so it didn't really have tremendous appeal for me, but, you know, I don't pretend that I understand everything. You know, when Krishna wrote about the Pandavas, the ongoing conflict within his family lines, of course, that was written as the Bhagavad Gita, and that whole book is about warfare. It's about people killing each other on the battlefields in India. So sometimes I guess war has to happen for the karma to be paid back, or to for, you know, rights to get wronged, I guess. So that's very interesting, because Sri Krishna is the most famous deity and the most revered deity, probably arguably, in India. And he wrote all about warfare. So, okay. So, thank you, Angelique. Thanks for sending good vibes about my tooth. I appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to call in Joan of Arc and see what she has to say. So at this time, I'm going to invoke my guides. I call in my highest and best healing and channeling guides. I call in the archangels, Gabriel, Michael, Ariel, Raphael. I ask for 10,000 warrior protection angels around myself and anyone listening to this live stream or watching the video later. I ask that all negative entities, energies, and thought forms be barred from this space. If anything's released by anybody here, I ask that the angels transmute it to light, take it to source, and then transmute it to light. So yes, bringing in those warrior protection angels, keeping us safe. Lastly, I ask that Jesus, we ask that he come in, and we're asking him to oversee and overlight this channeling. Please make my words clear, accurate, loving, and truthful. Lastly, we call in Joan of Arc. We ask her to come in with a message for the audience that's relevant to her time and relevant to today. And we're very happy that you're here, and we are awaiting your message. Thank you so much. So calling in Joan of Arc. Bonjour, this is Joan of Arc, and I am happy to be with you here today. This is a strange and exciting experience for me. I have witnessed this kind of thing before, but never have actually done it. So I'm happy and excited to make your acquaintance. And today the channel is wondering why there is no accent, and it's because the medieval accent is pretty strong and pretty distant and might be a little bit difficult for you to understand. So we are speaking in the tongue of the channel. Yes, my name is Joan, known as Joan of Arc. And yes, it is true that I am honored and revered in the nation of France for a very long time. And this gives me great pride. It fills my heart with joy to understand, or to know that through it all, even through my horrible death and the subsequent discussion about my life after my death that in the end I was seen as an honorable and heroic maid who was allied with the nation of France and wanted nothing more than to free my people from the tyranny of the English. At that time, there was a war. It had gone on for many, many generations. It was the 100-Year War, and people in my country were sick and tired of being abused, oppressed, and you could say beleaguered by the invasion of the English on our lands. The French have a long history of being very tied to the land. I worked on the land as a peasant, you could say a peasant. I worked in the fields and with the animals. And the French are very particular about our land, how we grow things, how we process things, our wine, our food, our cheese. It's very important to us, almost sacred. And the act of eating is almost sacred too. To the French, nothing is better than a good meal. So we felt very oppressed by the English coming in and burning towns, razing them to the ground, and trying to take over the lordship or rule of our country. However, as a child, this did not bother me so much. I was more concerned with things that every child, teenager, young girl would be concerned with. But all of this changed when I received a visitation from two great saints and Archangel Michael when I was 13 years old. At that time, a great light descended in front of me, all around me, and I could not see anything. I was literally blinded by the light. And when the light went away, the deity appeared before me, the deities appeared before me, and I was awestruck. So awestruck that I did not know quite what to say, but they explained to me that I would be involved with the liberation of France, and that I was just to do what I was told to do, and all would be well. Of course, I thought this is so unusual, so strange, but it was so real. I knew in my heart that I was meant to work with these blessed ones to help my countrymen. And from that day forward, I became very, very devoted to them and very, very religious. I would go to Mass on Sundays and almost every other day. I would take the sacraments. I would take Holy Communion and go to confession. And I felt that these things purified my soul and brought me closer to Jesus and to God. And so I just awaited further word. And when the spirits of light came to me and gave me direction to do something, I just did it because I knew I was being led. And long story made short is that I went to see the king. You could call him the king in waiting because he was the rightful king of France, but he was not on his throne. And I told him that I was being sent by God to help him regain his throne. And he had nothing to lose and everything to gain. So eventually he enlisted my help, especially when he saw that I knew things that I should not have known and could see things that I normally would not see. So I became emboldened and emblazoned in my mission, and I set about rallying the troops to bring the country back to the rightful heir, the rightful king. Was I frightened? Yes, I was frightened sometimes. Was I worried about the future? Yes, sometimes I did worry about the future. But how I got through all of this is when I was rallying the troops to fight the British. I would pray before leading them into battle. I did not fight, but I carried the flag that would lead them into battle and also lead them to an area to reconvene mid-battle or at the end of battle. So I would just pray before calling them, and I would invoke Archangel Michael to help to lead us. And this is how I became so emboldened, because I put my faith and my action into the hands of the divine. And yes, I believe, yes, that Michael was on the battlefield with us when we were fighting the English. Because of the energy, because I felt so confident and so people wondered where my courage came from. It came from my connection with the divine. I was consumed with love for Mother Mary, for Jesus, for the angels. I felt very connected to them. I felt loved by them, and I felt led by them. And so I would go into prayer and I would ask them to help me and to keep me in their favor. And so because I did this, this is why I had so much courage for such a young girl, teenager, really. And so it was very important to me to stay pure. My purity was deeply connected to my chastity, to being a virgin. I felt that that kept me powerful. I wanted sacredness, sanctity, purity in me, around me, through me, and this was very important. And yes, working with soldiers and dealing with soldiers, that wasn't always the case, but I made my will be known that they try to stay as pure as possible, because purity gives strength. 100% pure to me is 100% strong. So I did feel emboldened and emblazoned. And yes, you could say that I had knowledge and I had ideas beyond my age. You could say that I was channeling these strategies, military strategies, and war games. Basically, the plans that I executed, that I came up with and executed, were given to me by the divine, by my guides, and I just implemented them as a way to do my duty. And so, yes, basically, when we engaged in the Battle of Orleans, we were able to defeat the English and send them back And this was very important as the French had not won a battle of this scale in many, many years. And so it gave the French people a reason to be joyful and hopeful. And so part of the population considered me a heroine, and part of the population considered me a witch. Although I never delved into witchcraft or went down that path. I tried to stay true to myself. I tried to stay true to my duty and my mission. And I always followed the guidance of the divine beings. And when I did not follow their guidance is when I got into trouble. When I was imprisoned by the English, they captured me. I had gone into battle on my own recourse. I was not guided from above at that point, but guided by mortal circumstances. And then that was the time that I was captured and tortured by the English, whom I did despise. I was questioned, I was tortured, I was abused, I was humiliated and made fun of. I was criticized for wearing men's clothes, although I did this to be more accepted on the battlefield and also to protect my chastity. And I was made to feel very, very small. But I did not feel that my actions were errant or that I was out of line. I always felt like I did what I was called to do, and I did it to the best of my ability. And people say that I had courage. I would say that I was aflame or on fire with the love of God, which gave me the courage to do the things that I did. When I was turned aside by the French powers that be, they abandoned me, even though I helped them regain their throne. They abandoned me in the end because they saw me as expendable. And that is when I received the punishment of death for heresy. And yes, I was shocked that I was being sent to die for heresy when I did nothing but perform what God asked me to do. And this caused great turmoil and darkness in my soul, and I went through a dark night of the soul before my death, and I did not understand why I was being punished for doing the word of God, for doing good in my mind. However, then I remembered the passion of the Christ and how Christ was crucified and sent to his death for reasons that did not make sense and that were beyond his control. And then I realized that this death sentence was bigger than myself, and that if this was the will of Christ and the will of God, then I would accept it. So yes, I was burned at the stake in the fiery flames, and modern day people would have a hard time understanding the medieval mindset. But yes, we felt that was a just punishment for terrible crimes, and life and death determinations, life and death actually itself was something that was much more real in our everyday existence. And so even though I was very, very frightened about burning alive, I met my death with as much courage as I could. And I passed from this world in the 15th century as I was consumed by the fire. It was extremely painful at first, but then your spirit leaves the body and you get out of pain while you watch the process below. I was clinging to my Lord as I went through the experience. And as I left my body, I looked at it and I was surrounded by angels and saints who were there to support me in this terrible ordeal. I felt myself lifted. I felt myself actually lifted out of the body, my spirit was pulled out of the body as the flames were licking my feet and my hands and my torso, and I was screaming the name of my Lord. At that point, I was pulled out of the body. My spirit was pulled upwards, and I was held, and I watched as my corpse was consumed by the flames. And there were angels and saints around me. And beyond that, there were demons and the dark ones watching as well, as they were very interested in the burning and received pleasure from it. So after my death, I went to a council, a great hall in the heavens, and there I sat with the royal bloodlines of France, and I received an education on the history of those bloodlines, starting from the Merovingians, the bees of France. And I was told that these bloodlines have both the blood of Jesus and the blood of Satan. And that is why they are so good and evil. And the good and evil are intertwined throughout the many years, the many long centuries. I was told that my death served as a purification of the Satanists, the satanic blood that runs throughout the French royalty, that my death somehow was a way to appease the dark ones, or to transgress or transmute the energy of the royal bloodlines of France. And so after my death, the French were able to keep their country, keep their throne, and keep their sovereignty, and to keep their identity. If it were not for me and my passing and my sacrifice, the tide would have turned against France, and it would have been consumed by English law, English nobility, and English customs. And so it really was about preserving the identity of France. And so I see my life as something that was, yes, not ordinary, but I also see it as just answering the call. I did what I came to do. I did it with as much courage as I could, and I followed my guidance, although it was not easy at times. My advice to you is that you are going to be called in these times, the end times that you are undergoing right now, to follow your guidance. You are going to be called to be brave, to be courageous, and to stand up for what is right. These times, if you could say, my death and the Battle of Orleans was a microcosm of the macrocosm that is existing now in your world, which is the final battle between good and evil. If you are of the light, you are siding with the good, and you are siding with Jesus and the angels. And understand that life is ephemeral, that life is short, and that if you have faith in God above, you will find the courage and the strength to stand up for what is right and to stand by your convictions. And this is going to be called of many in the last days. You will have to refuse certain orders, certain mandates coming down upon you. You might have to break unjust laws. The important thing is to stand in your own consciousness and follow your conscience. Do what is right, stand up for what is right, and do not look back. Do not have second thoughts, and do not let yourself be misled and beguiled into wrongdoing out of fear. If this is difficult for you, then pray for my assistance, for I offer courage, I offer bravery to people who are in dire need of it. So understand that I hope to be an example for you to follow during the final battle between good and evil that is taking place in your world as we speak. Be true to yourselves. Follow the light, follow the good, align with Jesus, the angels, the saints, align with your highest self, because death is only a passing from one window to the other. Everyone dies It's just a question of when. So do not sell your soul. Do not sell out because you are afraid to die or afraid of some pain. Once you pass this test, you will have reached a very, very high place of regard in the afterworld. And once you pass this test, you will not have to pass it again. So I send you my support, I send you my blessings and my love, and I say, please understand that I was just an average teenager, an average girl, but with the help of Jesus, the angels, and the saints, much became possible. Align yourself with divinity and the divine cause. Bring it into your life, and you will see how much power, how much glory, and how much love will be yours. This is Joan of Arc. Vive France! And now the channel will come back. So I just want to say thank you. This is Donna Carroll. This is Donna Carroll. Thank you, Joan of Arc. I was a little intimidated channeling you. I hope that you all receive something from this, and I wish you all the best. Take good care of yourself. Be strong, be brave, and align with the divine. Sending love. Bye.